Greetings, fellow film fans. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Mercy, and this is the Funny Pajamas YouTube channel. Now, Wonder Woman came out during Christmas time here in India, in theaters and on HBO Max. So, it's time to rank all the DCEU movies from worst to best. Now, while you're here, why don't you take some time, smash that like button, and hit that beautiful red subscribe button and become a subscriber to my channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to hit the bell icon so that you're notified every time I post something new. On with the ranking. Now, first of all, I'd straight away like to say this is my personal ranking. It is in no way definitive. I'd love to hear what your rankings are, what you think. Be sure to let me know down in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me or do you disagree with me? Love to hear from you. In 9th place, we have Suicide Squad. Now, this movie is down right at the bottom of all the 9 DCEU movies so far released. This movie is a hot mess of a movie. And if you see a lot of what went on behind the scenes, particularly that David Ayer had basically 6 weeks to write the script, and once he wrote the script and a majority of the film was shot, it was then Warner Brothers decided to change their outlook on the movie. They decided to change the take, wanted a different take on the movie. The movie was sent to a trailer company to edit and put together, and that's how we have the Suicide Squad that we have with us today. Hopefully, and I'm pretty sure from the trailer and the teaser trailer that we released that James Gunn's The Suicide Squad will definitely be an improvement to this one. Now, on the whole, the cast is good. It's pretty strong. Margot Robbie and Will Smith as Harley Quinn and Deadshot, respectively, are amazing. They are the standout characters in this. However, their characters are not well written. The story is messy and not well written at all. Enchantress is a big weakness, not because of the actors or how they've portrayed the character. It is basically how the character was written, and basically that's why it was so weak. The story itself did not hold up the movie at all. On the whole, the movie is choppy, it is not cohesive, and a total hot mess of a movie. Basically, it's a dumpster fire. So that's why it earns its place at number 9. At number 8 is Justice League. Now, Justice League was basically the DCEU's response to Marvel's The Avengers. And on the whole, it's a highly mediocre film and highly disappointing. This movie should have easily in its sleeve been a $1 billion film, but on the whole, it underperformed at the box office, and mainly because of the intense behind the screen drama that went on behind this, mainly because of studio interference and change in directors. We began with Zack Snyder's vision, and then partway through the shoot, Zack Snyder was kicked out and Joss Whedon was brought in. Massive reshoots were done. Now, it doesn't take a genius that Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon's basic film sensibilities are very different. Their tonal qualities are very different, and this can be seen throughout this movie. What eventually is the result is a highly disjointed, incoherent movie that's so badly put together, and the final act is where it goes totally downhill. Too much of reliance on visual effects, and I thought that they should have stuck to just one tonal quality, one director throughout instead of mixing from both of them. The movie is a total hot mess, and hence was a massive disappointment to me. Now, here's hoping that Zack Snyder's the Snyder Cut version of the Justice League, I do think it will be better. It does look better and is more cohesive and goes along with the tone that the DCU has been having so far. And I do think it will be an improvement on this movie. Basically because this movie is so unrewatchable and it is so badly put together that I have this at number 8. At number 7, we have Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. Now, Batman v Superman, I will full disclosure here on, all the movies from this point on have more positive points than they have negative. As such, they have more good in them than the bad. Now, Batman v Superman was that film that was very highly cynical, and I know it was gritty and very grim outlook as such, and this has very good points, as in I loved Ben's version of Batman, and this was a more gritty version of the movies so far in the DCEU, and Zack Snyder's visual sensibilities are beautifully brought out, but as you can see, the movie is it gets too convoluted. The story gets too convoluted. They try to jam in too many things. I did like the warehouse scene that Batman has, one of the best action scenes that Batman has ever had. I loved it. Henry Cavill's Superman is the best so far. My favorite rendition of Superman is Henry Cavill's Superman. I do hope he goes on further to play the role. I know there are some talks about J.J. Abrams taking over and doing a Man of Steel possibly sequel. So and there are talks that he may bring back Henry Cavill to play the role. I do hope he does so. On the whole, this movie had a lot going for it, but it also had a lot pulling it back. The action sequences were well shot, but the movie as a whole, like I said, was overly convoluted. They tried to jam in too many villains and tried to bring in too many plot points. The movie tried to be a little too much. It tried to have a lot of things going on when it could have just stuck to a few basic facts. It could have, focused more on Batman v Superman and setting up of Justice League rather than trying to be a sequel to the original Man of Steel movie. That's why this movie is firmly in 7th place for me. Now in 6th place, I know this is pretty controversial, but in 6th place, I know since it's pretty low, is Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie. Now, the original Wonder Woman was indeed a pleasant surprise for me. Now, first of all, I wasn't sure when the casting of Gal Gadot for Wonder Woman was announced. I do believe she was a weakness in this movie, mainly because she's not the world's greatest thespian. And as such, I did have my doubts going into this movie, seeing as how she was cast, and I did feel she was a weakness. I know that's an unpopular opinion. On the upside, I do believe Patty Jenkins did a wonderful job at this. This is generally a slightly campy character, and I did like the take and the outlook and the way Patty Jenkins brought the character to the screen. I also loved Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, and on the whole, the movie was good, except the final third act where it totally fell apart for me. This was basically where during Steve Trevor's basic sacrifice that really emotionally hit. But what followed after that was your generic, boss fight and a generic fight between the good guy and the the good guy and the bad guy. And it was it was a bit heavy-handed, particularly with the talky part of it. And that was mainly what brought this down. I will say that Wonder Woman 1984, unpopular opinion, I know, is higher on the list for me. I did enjoy this movie a lot more than I did the original Wonder Woman movie. I thought all up till the No Man's Land part of it was pretty good, was solid and well executed, but after that it totally went apart. As such, that's why I have Wonder Woman in 6th place on my list. Now in 5th place, yet another unpopular opinion, is Birds of Prey, and the extremely long title, which I will shorten to, and Harley Quinn. So now Birds of Prey, I really had fun with. I enjoyed this movie. I know not everybody enjoyed this movie. It did hit all the right spots for me. I love Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. She's a standout character in this, and the way they have narrated the story with her wacky narration was really fun. I had a good time. It was on the whole, it was a fun time with the movie. The movie is very well directed. Loved the action set pieces, and I also loved Ewan McGregor as Black Mask. I thought he brought out the character really well. He was really terrifying. At the same time, he really brought out more to the character. He was one of the stronger villains, I do believe. And as I said, the action sequences were really good, well directed. I know that they focused more on practical effects rather than on VFX, and that shows and that really elevates this movie. Now on the whole, this movie could have easily foregone the R rating. A slight edits and it could have been PG-13. I know the R rating may have played a role in elevating the film, but I do believe if it was a PG-13, it could have been accessible to more people, and as such a wider audience could have been reached. On the whole, I firmly place this in 5th place, and I have no qualms about it. Personally, I enjoyed this movie. Now in 3rd place, I had Wonder Woman 1984. Now full disclosure, this is a very unpopular opinion, but I did like this movie a lot more than the previous movie. Now, like I said, I do not believe Gal Gadot is the world's greatest thespian. I do believe she was a weakness of that first movie. Now, in this movie, she has improved by leaps and bounds. And I will admit that Patty Jenkins has given her a more meaty role, and as such, she does manage to pull it off. I was glad they brought back Steve Trevor, a little apprehensive about how they would reintroduce him. I know there are some logic flaws in this movie, but on the whole, I love the way they embrace the 80s feel of this movie. It has cheesy moments, but on the whole, it was really good. I loved Kristen Wiig as the character Cheetah. Now, as such, you would normally think that Cheetah would be the main antagonist to Diana's protagonist, but on the whole, Cheetah was a secondary villain in this, and I do feel that they could have introduced her in the third film in the trilogy and made her the main villain. On the whole, I thought Steve Trevor bringing back, he did elevate it. I love the dynamic that Chris Pine have. They have that real chemistry between them, and as such, it made the movie all the more better. I also think that the most standout character in this movie was Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord. Now, Maxwell Lord is not a very popular villain in the Wonder Woman Rogues Gallery, but I do believe Pedro Pascal brought him out perfectly. He brought out the human side of him, while at the same time he is inherently evil. You feel for him, at the same time you despise him. And he brought out that character so well, while at the same time going all out with the character, at the same time not taking it over the top and not making the character seem a bit too much. On the whole, this was a lovely package. It made me reminded me a lot of the original, very first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and I really felt it embraced the feel. The score was very nice, and tonally this movie is very different from the original Wonder Woman movie. I will say the movie could have been shortened a good 15 to 20 minutes. I know the first 15-20 minutes are some of the best in the movie, but story-wise they could have been cut out. I know there are logic plots, but on the whole I enjoyed this movie, and that's why this movie is firmly in 4th place. In 3rd place, I have Aquaman. Now, I had a fun time in the theater with Aquaman. I really enjoyed it. This movie knows what it is. It really embraces the campiness and the cheesiness, and as such, it felt a lot like a real life anime, like a live action anime. And as a casual anime fan, I really enjoyed it. James Wan embraces the genre, embraces the total campiness, brings fun. This is completely James Wan's vision. Loved his shots and the cinematography he had, particularly the wide angle long shots and the beautiful action sequences and the set pieces. And you can see that the cast is having a blast, particularly Jason Momoa as Aquaman. He is amazing in this role, brings out the character really well, and I thought this movie was perfectly done, worked well to his strengths and the strengths of the cast. Now, on the whole, this movie is pretty campy. I mean, how more campy can you get than a octopus playing the drums? It had amazing set pieces, action sequences, and I thought amazing job. Can't wait for the sequel. Now, when I heard about this movie, for a long time, Aquaman has been kind of the joke of the DCEU. He's a character most people make fun of, but this movie brought out the real coolness in him and restored him to his original position as a really cool character. On the whole, firmly in 3rd place. Now we are coming up to the top 2. Now the top 2 places have for a long time been alternating for me. I wasn't sure what to choose, but upon rewatching the films, I firmly have Shazam in 2nd place. The Shazam was that delightful movie, the kind of movie that is part family, part action adventure, superhero, fun, and at the same time had a tad bit of horror to it as well. This movie, I was really excited when I heard that Zachary Levi was cast as Shazam. I thought he'd bring out the character really well, particularly of a teenage boy in the body of a grown man superhero. And I thought he brought out the character really well. I really thought he was an apt casting, particularly after watching a few seasons of. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. And I really thought he was a perfect fit for this. I know some people had some doubts, particularly about the body part of it, but he did come out pretty well. It did come out well. This is a fun movie that at the same time has a great deal of heart, and I really thought that had a strong point going for it. This movie is totally cheesy and knows what it is and totally embraces it, and just like I thought that was a strong point for this movie. What I also loved about this movie was it was a very accurate depiction of what a teenage boy or any teenager of the 21st century would feel should they be gifted with superpowers. And I thought that was a very accurate depiction, and I loved this movie for it and all that it was. That's why it is firmly and perfectly in second place for me. And now we come to the top of the list. In number 1, I have Man of Steel. Now, for me, Superman is not my favorite superhero, but this movie sure shot him up right up there. This movie is a more realistic, more gritty, more grounded telling of how it would be should Clark Kent realize that how it would be if Clark Kent is growing up with his powers, with his superpowers among humans, the themes and the ideas, the conflicts that he would face. I loved particularly the interaction between Clark Kent and his father, Pa Kent, played by Kevin Costner, perfectly. I loved it. It brought such humanity to it, very grounded, a very realistic take. As such, it's totally different from what other Superman movies how they have portrayed the character, and I loved it for it. This movie, the tonal quality suits it perfectly, and Zack Snyder's visual storytelling is amazing in this. I love Henry Cavill in the role, and I am really hoping that he reprises the role. He is by far my favorite Superman till date. Also, I have to give a shout out to the score. I do believe that Man of Steel score by Hans Zimmer is the best score in all the DC movies, maybe one of his best scores so far. As such, it elevates the film, and it works so well with Zack Snyder's sensibilities and his storytelling skills that this movie is firmly in number 1 place. Also, I really like General Zod, played by Michael Shannon. Now, he is one of the most terrifying villains, and the final fight sequence is amazing, and particularly how they tie this into Batman v Superman. Though Batman v Superman was a far step below than this, I do believe this movie is the best, a masterpiece of the genre. And I will admit, on first viewing, I was not sure where to rank this. But this movie sort of grew on me till I liked it and loved it. And now I firmly place it as one of my favorite comic book movies. Also, it is a highly underrated comic book movie. Here's hoping that Zack Snyder brings more of this sensibility, I'm sure he will, to the Snyder Cut, which I believe is coming out in March of this year. Can't wait to see it. And listen, while you're here, why don't you hit the comment section down below and let me know what you think. Now, full disclosure, this is my personal list. It's definitely going to vary from most people's list. Everyone's list is different, but let me know what you think. Also, let me know what is your favorite movie, what you rank as at the top. I love to hear from you. And listen, you can always contact me simply on Twitter at Mercy_D, on Instagram at Mercy_SD. Also, the Funny Pajamas Facebook page, simply at funny.pajamas. Pajamas with a Y. And you can always visit the Funny Pajamas simply at www.funny-pajamas.com. Pajamas with a Y. And of course, you can email me. Be sure, I'd love to hear from you at mercy@funny-pajamas.com. Need I say it? Pajamas with a Y. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's great to discuss movies with you. Hope to see you again soon. This is Mercy, signing out. Have a good one. Bye.